What's up, guys? How's it going? So it's Matt here. So I'm gonna do a little video here about a very important lesson, which I think people really need to start looking at, especially with what's going on right now in our country. So this is a very, very important thing that you need to consider. All right, never underestimate your enemy. All right, guys. So if any of you guys have been following the news, or you can see it all over social media, whether through Facebook, YouTube, and stuff like that, there's been a lot of issues in our college campuses. Conservative groups have been getting shut down by Antifa. A lot of people know about Antifa, the hooded, masked, mentally deranged kids that are very violent. They throw rocks at people. They throw M80s at people. Some have actually thrown flashbangs. They hit people with poles. They pepper spray people like crazy. These kids are very mentally deranged is the best way I can explain it. We call them brainwashed, mentally deranged, whatever it is, guys. And it's a real issue that a lot of people are having. And people are now just finally starting to stand up to them. Some police are standing down. Actually, some police are actually starting to stand up to them too. But people are starting to actually stand up for themselves when it comes to these protests and events and stuff like that. But I just wanted to go over this real quick because I've been seeing this specifically all over social media. So you see a lot of these kids, these Antifa kids coming out with their masks on, telling how they want to hurt people, and you know exactly what they're calling us fascists when they don't understand what actually fascism is what they're doing is actually fascism. The trying to silence the free speech and attacking people that don't agree with them. So you guys don't know that terrorism, guys, the definition of terrorism is a group of people or persons who use violence or intimidation to push a political agenda. Yeah, so just keep that in mind. Same thing with BLM, guys. But anyway, I wanted to talk about this because I've been seeing a lot of people kind of making fun of these kids on social media, because these kids do some weird things, and these kids are very aggressive towards people, and they don't know how to control their emotions and stuff like that too. So a lot of people have been using them as kind of like a meme joke and all that other stuff. But the thing is one thing that we have always learned in the military, one thing that you're taught in the military, and which you need to take consideration as a concealed carry permit holder, is never, ever, ever, under any circumstances, underestimate your opponent, underestimate your enemies. Never do it. Just look in history, guys. I mean, look at Vietnam prior to American military going in there. The French completely underestimated them and got freaking massacred, all right? General Custer underestimated him, massacred. All right. Now, when we first got deployed to Iraq, the first thing that what was on our mind when we first got deployed, this is '03, is that the Republican Guard and that was actually well trained and stuff like that. So that what everyone was saying in the news, they were like well trained and stuff like that. But the entire trip going through Iraq, we weren't taking a whole lot. We come up to built up fighting positions, and there was no one there. And you see people in actual military uniforms running away with their hands up and surrendering left and right. You saw this in Desert Storm. You saw in Operation Iraqi Freedom. A lot of them turned themselves in because they're actually being starved by their dictator leader. But what we learned, what we started seeing is we had the saying that we always said, complacency kills, all right? Which is 100% complacency does kill, guys. You cannot underestimate them, because no matter how underarmed, how dumb, how weird you think these people are, they are still people, and they still can be violent, they can still be aggressive, and they can still do some serious damage to you, okay? And they can still put their heads together and ambush you and come up with tactics. You see it with the IEDs. First, IEDs started out with, they're as clear as day. You could see them when we first started seeing the threat. They're clear as day. You can see them. You see artillery shell on the side of the road. You're like, all right, yeah, that's a dead giveaway. Then you start seeing like a dead animal that was extremely bloated on the side of the road with wires coming out of it. You're like, okay, we know what that is. And then we started seeing, them getting dug and covered over, and you weren't seeing the wires anymore, right? And then it just kept getting, but they kept getting smarter and different, and they're adjusting to their tactics nonstop to the point where now they have like they have different type. There's pressure plates that you can set on it, and there's actually ones that are designed that when you pull any of the parts from it, they blow up, which are actually designed for the EOD guys. So, as little and dumb as you may think that these kids and these people and these terrorists and all these other people are, remember, guys, they're still humans. They still have a brain, and they're still pretty smart. All right. So, don't ever underestimate them, because if you underestimate them, it will bite you in the butt. All right. So, for example, is when we were traveling down the road in Iraq, we'd actually drive down the center of the road because most IDs were planted on the side of the road. So we'd drive our convoys down the center of the road, and all the cars that were coming at us would basically be forced off the road. They learned to stay to the side. Now, he saw cars all the time, bad drivers and just stupid drivers, legally blind drivers, go figure. Kid drivers, because because women couldn't drive, so it was actually kid drivers with their mother sitting in the passenger seat side, swerving all over the road and not fully stopping. And you'd fire the warning shot, and usually a warning shot alone would send them flying off the road. All right, we had specific tactics: warning shot, 3-round burst the engine block, and then engage the driver. That was our tactics. And then the tactic got changed as during towards my second deployment, which was hand flare, then a warning shot, then 3-round burst the engine block, and then engage the driver. They're already on you by the time they got there. But anyway, I digress there. But what I'm getting at is you see the same thing over and over again, and you're like, oh, it's just dumb drivers, just dumb drivers. That's called complacency, because that one time they say, what to do, it's just another dumb driver. That one time you do that, it's going to turn into a car bomb, and it's going to seriously hurt or kill your friends. So you need to really not be complacent, guys. Always be vigilant, never be complacent, and never underestimate your enemy. Now, what I want to get into this when it comes to Antifa is, originally they just started as protesters. Well, they've been violent from the start. The pepper spraying people left and right, throwing M80s, throwing rocks, throwing cans, throwing all this other stuff. And all the news ever covers is what, people defending themselves against these guys and saying we're the bad people. When in turn, they're throwing the rocks and they're slamming people with bottles on their head and pepper spray and all that other stuff. But if you've noticed in the last few months, I saw it in Texas, was one place I saw it. I know there's another state that I saw it too. These, Antifa guys are starting to show up for protests with long guns, with rifles, all right, with loaded rifles. Now, I see this all the time. Even so, the kids that are, doing the videos, there's some videos that you can tell are hoax, just people trying to make fun of them and stuff like that too. But these people are actually specifically talking about, using their rifles, all right? So they're showing up with protests with rifles. There's actually pictures of one of the recent protests of Antifa. Well, I don't even call it a protest. It's more of a riot. But there was in the back with a rifle. I don't remember if it was a Mini 14. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it's still a rifle, all right? So they're starting to show up with the rifles. The stuff that they say to us is, show up so you can punch a blank in the face and punch this in the face, They'll say, they say, let's show up so you can punch a Nazi in the face. It's the type of stuff that they're saying. Actually giving away or selling cheap pocket knives, saying it's for cutting up a Nazi. These people, these kids, are mentally deranged. Okay, I mean, they are literally mentally deranged, and they are violent. I've seen them a couple times on videos. Is a conservative just is trying to confront them and talk to them, and they don't even say anything. And they just start punching. That's what these Antifa kids do. They have their hair triggers. They have no filter. What's in the brain, which is usually a clear tell or a clear sign of mental derangement. They have no filter. They say whatever comes in their heads, and all they want is violence. Okay, that's all they want is violence. A lot of them are anarchists. A lot of them are just kids that just got bad situations and decide to start sticking with these groups because they're kind of becomes a little clique, whatever you call it. and they start following the group. It's a way to get their aggression out. It's a way to get their anger out. It's a way to be violent. It's a way to enact their video games and like stuff like the movie The Purge. They like watching this stuff because it allows them to act like this in real life. And it gives them a reason to get that violence out that they have cooped up and the crazy stuff that's in there. But the problem is with this, guys, is like I said, well, a lot of people can see this in the first place, but now that they're showing up in these protests with rifles, and a lot of these kids said they don't have like unlock codes like most people where, okay, first verbal, then it turns to physical, then it's a defensive situation, and then it becomes lethal. They don't have unlock codes. These kids don't have lock codes. They just snap. Like, anything sets them off and they just snap. And now they're showing up at these riots already, where they're already creating violence with rifles, all right? So, and the things that they say, the things that they preach, that they're brainwashed and stuff like that, is what they're saying about Americans like us and just proud people like us, or veterans too, is they literally consider us villains, bad guys. They consider us, it's like so ingrained into them that they want to hurt us, okay? And they're getting to a point where it's getting more aggressive. These protests, these riots are getting more aggressive. I'm not saying, don't go to them. Personally, I'd never go to them because I don't want to get seriously injured. I saw people getting hit by the shrapnel M80s on their legs, and people get hit by bricks and stuff like that. People show up with helmets and goggles on. People get pepper sprayed left and right. I would highly recommend you not go to these. But right now, when you have conservatives kind of fighting back a little bit and pushing them back, now these kids are starting to turn towards more violent methods, all right? And they're out there preaching that they seriously want to hurt or kill us, all right? So if you're going to go to these demonstrations, whatever you want to call them, you need to be very vigilant and be very wary, because these kids, like I said, they will snap, they're violent, and now they're showing us that they're coming to these events with rifles, with pistols, all right, with knives, all right? So never, ever, ever underestimate your opponent because you think it's just some kid that lives in the basement, which a lot of them are. Kid that lives in the basement or who went to college and, wants nothing, doesn't want to have to work and all this other stuff. These kids are violent, all right? And they have no filter, and they are brainwashed, and they are going to get more aggressive, all right? So don't ever, ever underestimate them. So if you're going to these protests and stuff like that too, guys, like I said, first, personally, I wouldn't go to them because I wouldn't want to endanger that. I have 3 kids. I have a wife. I would recommend maybe you might want to start wearing body armor, all right? Because these kids are really getting to the point where they're about to completely snap, and they're going to get a lot more violent, all right? They're going to get a lot more violent. So you need to not underestimate them. A lot of people see their training. They're like, oh, look at their training. They can't do crap. They can't, their weapons handling is horrible. Yeah, their weapons handling is horrible. Their marksmanship is off. But does that mean a bullet's still going to stop in midair when it's come flying? No. So don't underestimate them, man. These kids can adjust. They can learn. Some of these kids might have training. So even if these kids don't have training, they still are coming to these demonstrations now with weapons, all right? So aggressive, violent, no filter, no unlock codes, and weapons. Bad combination. Don't underestimate them anymore, guys. All right. Remember, guys, it's our responsibility to take care of each other and protect each other. Peace. Remember, guys, be safe. All right.